Good evening and welcome to Sunset News on this Tuesday evening. As always, we bring you the news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Ashwin Berry. In the news tonight, a total of 87 rhinos were poached last year, of which 45 were killed in the Etosha National Park. This is according to new statistics released by the Environment and Tourism Ministry, which show that last year 61 black rhinos and 26 white rhinos were killed. In 2022, poaching cases included 15 rhinos poached on custodianship farms and another 25 white rhinos on private farms. Namibia recorded 45 rhinos poached in 2021, 43 in 2020, 61 in 2019, 84 in 2018, and 55 in 2017. So far this year, one rhino has been poached. Meanwhile, 4 elephants were killed last year. These include 2 in the Zambezi region, 1 in Kavango West, and 1 in Kunene. Serious concern, according to ministry spokesperson Romeo Muyunda, elephant poaching figures have declined steeply over the years, from the highest figure of 101 in 2015. 50 elephants were poached in 2017, 27 in 2018, 13 in 2019, 12 in 2020, and 10 in 2021. Prime Minister Sarako Amadila waving at an elderly woman whose homestead is flooded. Now, the elderly woman is one of those who refused to be relocated, fearing for their belongings to be stolen. Kongela Amadila said in the future plans for the location of infrastructure, such housing will need to be studied. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema are currently in Windhoek, Namibia, to attend the extraordinary SADC Organ Troika Summit that comes to close today. The main issue discussed are the security and optical crises in Democratic Republic of Congo, Eswatini, Lesotho, and Mozambique. Two pastors and a retired bishop are being investigated for theft of 3.4 million Namibian dollars from the Ausin Church at Nakayale in Omusati region. The theft took place between March and May 2016, police said this morning. No one has been arrested yet, but investigations continue. In our story of the day after the break, we take a look at the need for procurement to be cost-effective.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Titan, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
You are still with Sunset News. Let's get into the story of the day. Preference in awarding tenders will be given to local companies that are most responsive and cost-effective. In addition, in a situation where local companies are competing with international companies for a tender, preference will be given to local suppliers to empower them. However, there is a limit on price. According to Finance Minister Ipumbushimi, the difference in price should not be more than 10%, otherwise it will waste taxpayers' money. The public procurement is increasingly recognized as a strategic function that plays a key role in using public funds for sustainable development outcomes and fostering economic growth, job creation, and social welfare.
One of the objectives of the code is to empower local suppliers. So in other words, if you have a tender which is open for international competition, in other words, international suppliers are also eligible to participate in the tender, and local companies are also eligible to participate in that tender, preference should be given to a local company, a local supplier. Again, the rationale, the local supplier is here, it creates jobs, it pays tax, and therefore it's important to empower local suppliers and help them to grow, because we also want to see sustainable businesses in Namibia that are going to expand, create more employment, but also export things outside so that we can earn foreign exchange. So competition between an international supplier and a local supplier, preference should be given to a local supplier. But of course, there is a price limit. Yeah. So the only flexibility that has been allowed in terms of the code is that the difference in price should not be more than 10%. Preferably it should be less than 10%, but 10% is how far we can go. So if you're above 10%, it means you are not a competitive entity, and therefore you should not be given preference, because you will be wasting taxpayers' money. Yeah, okay, that's with regard to international tenders. In other words, tenders that are open for international bidders to also participate, both international and local bidders. For those that are exclusive for local suppliers, let's say you have 3 or 4 local suppliers. Again, you will then have to look at the code to see if this local supplier, a real bona fide local supplier that is producing goods here. That's one. Is this local supplier having the capability to supply quality goods or service? That's 2. Is this local supplier an SME or a company that is maybe both SME but is also owned by a woman? So all those are things that are going to add up. Now, once you have selected, you then have to look at, if you have 2 that are meeting all the criteria, the one that is most responsive. And what is most responsive? In other words, it's able, in your judgment, as the evaluation committee or the entity that is procuring, that is able to produce or to deliver quality goods, but also it must be cost effective. In other words, if the quality is the same, there's a price difference, you will have to give it to the one that gives you back the best value for money. That's
The worldwide transition away from fossil fuels could be accelerated by the Ukraine-Russia war. More on this in economic news after the break.
Namibia's hospitality is as vibrant as its people. Join the What's Cooking team as they travel the country cooking, chatting, and celebrating local personalities and the joy of food. If you think you have a standout offering, whether it's a restaurant, bar, pop-up event, or braai stand, get in touch with the What's Cooking team at cooking@synergy.com.na, and we will be there to show the world what's cooking. Programs air every Friday at 4 p.m. on all the NMH Facebook platforms, as well as on NTV, Dstv channel 285, and Gotv channel 94 at 9 p.m.
Heading into economic news, the worldwide transition away from fossil fuels could be accelerated by the Ukraine-Russia war, British energy giant BP forecast on Monday. Its assessment in the group's annual energy outlook comes as oil and gas majors seek to reinvent themselves as greener companies by investing in renewables. The increased focus on energy security as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war has the potential to accelerate the energy transition, the report read. This as countries seek to increase access to domestically produced energy, much of which is likely to come from renewables and other non-fossil fuels, it added. Stay with us as we head into the economic indicators.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
It's one thing to have money in your pocket, it's another thing to know what it means on the market. Let's have a look at the indicators. The Namibian dollar is up next to the US dollar and Chinese yuan, maintaining its value next to the euro and taking a dip next to the British pound. 21.46 Namibian dollars, getting you 1 British pound. Gold and Brent crude oil all made upticks of 0.26% and 0.14% respectively, whilst copper and zinc closed down 0.71% and 2.09%. Now, in the international news slot, we look at private powers driving society to the brink of collapse. Stay with Sunset News.
Kom kuier gerus elke Vrydag aand saam met Arjo Gart, waar hy vooruitskouing doen van wat op die sportvelde reg oor die wêreld gaan plaasvind. Daar word op die naweek se top internasionale sportgeleenthede gefokus en plaaslike sport in Namibië asook Suid-Afrika word in oënskou geneem. Die kenners praat saam en huidige asook oud spelers gee hul mening en ons hoor grootlik sommer uit die spreekwoordelike perd se bek. Niemand weet met sekerheid wat die naweek op die sportveld gaan gebeur nie, maar iemand weet wel watter faktore die uitslae kan beïnvloed. Ons praat met daardie iemand wat weet en soms word geheim ook uitgelaat. Vrydaande is ons in die tonnel gereed om uit te draf. Dit is jou Vrydag afspraak wat jou ingelig gaan hou alvordat die spelers uit die tonnel opdraf. Sport is ons passie. Sien jou in die tonnel.
Private powers in the capitalist world risk driving society to the brink of collapse, with profit-hungry institutions putting their own self-interests above what's right for the planet. According to Noam Chomsky, a world-renowned linguist and philosopher, Reuters has more.
For the past 30 years, the United States has been carrying out policies which severely threaten Russia, reckless policies. The U.S. cannot present itself as a just international citizen in this regard. There is enormous support around the world for a move to negotiations to end the horrors. The United States and Britain are opposed to it. Their goal is to fight the war in order to weaken Russia. But the real problem is the failure of human beings to commit themselves and dedicate themselves to what has to be done. That's not a technical problem. There are institutional problems in the world of basically capitalist institutions. Private power seeks to gain profit, not to do what's necessary. So we have created a set of institutions which we have to bribe, try to get them to do what's necessary. Those are human constructions. They don't have to exist. There are other ways for society to be organized. Fortunately, that's the way it's developed over the centuries.
You are still with Sunset News. After this short break, we'll look at the weather predictions.
3, 2, 1.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact my.na@synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
For those who have been paying attention to the news, Cyclone Cheneso apparently seems to be getting less tense for the Mozambican region and is currently subsiding. Let's have a look, however, at the weather predictions for Namibia. Oshakati is partly cloudy with a 19-degree minimum, whilst Windhoek is colder with a 15-degree minimum. Tsumeb overcast, thunderstorms, 18-degree minimum. Kepanzhoop is sunny with a 38-degree minimum, whilst it's partly cloudy in Henties Bay and Swakopmund and Riamsvlei, also sunny with a 38-degree maximum. Stay with us as we head into the sports section tonight, starting with the Nedbank Psycho Challenge coming up later in February.
Tourismus Namibia is a weekly tourism show that brings you the latest news in the tourism industry and topics related to that. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact tourismus@synergy.com.na for news and advertising related queries. Tourismus, bring the world to Namibia.
We can prevent violence against women before it happens. It means tackling the root causes of violence, working with men and boys to end power over women, which is often normalized and justified. Transforming these root causes and preventing violence needs political commitment and leadership, laws and policies that promote gender equality, investments in women's organizations, and resources for prevention work. But prevention also starts with you. You can start by educating yourself. Speak out when you get a chance. Advocate for survivors' rights and always listen to survivors. Preventing violence against women and girls before it actually happens is the most effective way of ending it. So let's start now.
This is still Sunset News. Let's get into the sports stories. The 2023 Nedbank Cycle Challenge, supported by Coca-Cola, NHP and Pay Today, which is coming up on Sunday, 12 February, was launched today. Participants can register on the Saturday before the races from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the ground floor of the Nedbank campus. That's 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the ground floor of the Nedbank campus. Distances in this year's event are 20, 30, 60 or 100 kilometers in the usual respective age groups, as well as elite riders. The deadline for entries is midnight on Wednesday, the 8th of February. Entry fees for the 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer and 60 kilometer are 140 Namibian dollars per rider, while the 100 kilometer costs 220 Namibian dollars per participant. West Ham booked an FA Cup fifth-round trip to Manchester United as goals from Jarrod Bowen and Mikel Antonio sealed a 2-0 victory at third-tier derby on Monday. Bowen put West Ham ahead early in the first half, and Antonio doubled the lead soon after the interval in the fourth-round time. West Ham might be perilously close to the relegation zone in the Premier League, but they were never seriously threatened by League One promotion chasers Derby. David Moyes' side will head to Old Trafford in late February as they continue their bid to reach the FA Cup final for the first time since 2006. Avoiding an embarrassing defeat against Derby was essential for the under-fire Moyes, but it is Premier League survival that remains his top priority. The Hammers are languishing in 16th place in the Premier League, just 1 point above the relegation zone. One of the last Club World Cups in its current format begins on Wednesday in Morocco, where Real Madrid will be favourites to continue Europe's dominance of the much-maligned FIFA competition. FIFA President Gianni Infantino announced on the sidelines of the World Cup in Qatar in December that an expanded Club World Cup is planned for 2025. The bigger competition, which would feature 32 teams, has been a controversial pet project for Infantino's for some time. A 24-team Club World Cup involving 8 European sides had been due to take place in China in 2021, only to be put on hold due to the COVID pandemic. You are still with Sunset News. After this break, we head into the highlights from this evening's broadcast.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
We are back again with another episode of your favorite show.
Scholars, varsity and the youth generation through Zone, Varsity and School News. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Thank you for staying with Sunset News throughout this evening's broadcast. Let's head into the highlights. The worldwide transition away from fossil fuels could be accelerated by the Ukraine-Russia war, British energy giant BP forecast on Monday. Its assessment in the group's annual energy outlook comes as oil and gas majors seek to reinvent themselves as greener companies by investing in renewables. Preference in awarding tenders will be given to local companies that are most responsive and cost-effective. In addition, in a situation where local companies are competing with an international company for a tender, preference will be given to the local suppliers in order to empower them. And the 2023 Nedbank Cycle Challenge, supported by Coca-Cola, NHP and Pay Today, is coming up on Sunday, the 12th of February. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook or the NMH platforms on weekdays, as well as Oneuptwo.com. Sunset News screens on Dstv 285 and Gotv 94. From Ashwin Berry, this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.